Joan was born around 1412 in the small town of Domremy in France, on the border of the provinces of Champagne and Lorraine, to Jacques d'Arc and Isabelle Romay. She grew up helping her father and brothers work the land and helping her mother, a devout woman, look after the house. The year she turned 12, she became convinced that there was something special about her, a destiny she alone could fulfill. She began hearing the voices of St. Michael, St. Catherine, and St. Margaret, whom she believed had been sent by God to inform her of her divine mission to save France. So compelled was she by the urgency of these voices that by the time she was 15, she cut her hair, began dressing in a man's uniform, and took up arms. France and England were deep into the 100 Years' War at this point. At that time in history, the two nations were not as separate as they are now, and there was a battle raging over who should be king of the general area. By 1429, King Henry VI was claiming the throne, and the English occupied Paris and all of northern France. Joan had two missions, thanks to the voices that guided her: to recover her homeland from English domination and reclaim the besieged city of Orléans, and to see the Dauphin of France, Charles VII, crowned king. She left her home without telling her parents and appealed to the captain of the Dauphin's army, telling him of her divine mission. He initially dismissed the notion of a 15-year-old girl having the leadership capacity to head his forces. However, her persistence and clarity of vision ultimately convinced him, and she went on to convince the Dauphin as well that she was on a mission from God meant to save him and restore France. After being examined by a board of theologians, she was given the rank of captain and allowed to lead men into battle. She was 17 when she led her troops to victory over the English at the Battle of Orléans in May 1429. She rode in white armour and carried a banner bearing the likenesses of her three saints. It wasn't all that unusual at the time for women to fight alongside men. Indeed, throughout the Middle Ages, women had, when necessary, worn armour, led armies, ridden horses, and defended castles and lands. Joan was an excellent leader. Through her self-assured confidence, her courage, and her determination, she was able to effectively command soldiers and captains alike. She organised her army of men into professional soldiers, and even required them to attend Mass and go to confession. So formidable was her leadership that it was said when her troops approached, the enemy fled the battlefield. But by far her most innovative act was instilling among her people a sense of nationalism and patriotic pride. She was one of the first leaders to consider England and France as separate countries, with separate cultures and traditions that were worth fighting to preserve. Due in great part to Joan's leadership on the battlefield, Charles VII was crowned King of France on 17th of July, 1429, in Rheims Cathedral. Her victory, however, was short-lived. She was captured by the Burgundians in 1430, while defending Compiègne near Paris, and was sold to the English. The English turned her over to the court at Rouen to be tried for witchcraft and crimes against the Church. Though the witchcraft charge was dismissed on the grounds that she was a virgin, she was accused of perpetrating crimes against God by wearing men's clothing. After a 14-month trial, during which she never strayed from her insistence on the divinity of her voices and the absolute rightness of her calling, Joan was convicted and burned at the stake in the Rouen marketplace on 30th of May, 1431. Her last words were, "Jesus, Jesus." She was 19 years old. Almost 25 years after her death, Pope Calixtus III reopened the case at the request of Inquisitor General Jean Préal and Joan's mother, Isabelle Romay. Joan was vindicated as a martyr and declared an innocent woman on the 7th of July, 1456. It was nearly 500 years after her death that she was canonized as a saint, on 16th of May, 1920, by Pope Benedict XV. Joan of Arc is now recognized